say to me, not sure you keep good company. Let me explain the way it started when two comets come into contact and parted. Stuck in your mind from the last time it was started. A grayscale or a fine line so you were guarded. Now it's time to buy, the vibe started to amplify, not simplify. They said we'd never get it. They said we'd never win. They said we'd never get it. Never doubt me. There's one lesson left to learn, accept no less than you deserve. Circle of hate you inspired, self-hate desire makes you a liar. It's not like you've been wrong, no question you're that strong. No words can never hold you down. They said we'd never get it. They said we'd never win. They said we'd never get it. Never doubt me. They said we'd never get it. They said we'd never win. They said we'd never get it. Never doubt me. It's all a lie. You feel this fight. That's just more fuel for you. Don't lose your mind. It's worth your strife. Take hold. It's all for you. They said we'd never get it. They said we'd never win. They said we'd never get it. Never doubt me. They said we'd never get it. They said we'd never win. They said we'd never get it. Never, never doubt me. Never, never doubt me.
Good. What's up, everybody? Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for tuning in. It is right next door. Yes.
Hey, how's it going, guys?
What's up? Yeah, what about that top 5? Can't hear Texan. Almost says can't hear you.
There you go. Now you can hear me.
Now
Now
been
you
able
can
to hear
hear
him
me.
this whole time. All right, start
Yeah, they
over.
couldn't hear me the whole time. Well,
Thanks for
basically,
tuning in.
yeah, I thank you all for tuning in. Obviously, I misspelled "toot" in there. The Y right next to the T. My bad. And gave SS the big congrats there for the win. Like I said when you guys couldn't hear me, SS not only great at the super speedways, as you can see, he does a great job at all these other tracks too. He's always a contender, and great victory there by SS at Kansas in the truck. So congrats SS. We moved a brand new driver into the winter race column in the truck series, so another new driver added. We had a lot of new drivers in all these series winning races. Here are your race results. Trish, you
Y'all
with
hear
us?
him
You're going to
now?
go down our top 5?
All right, now they can. There you go, Trish. I'll be here.
Well, SS pulling off the victory. Steve Looney, second place. BSR Terry Scott, third place. BSR RJ Rusty pulling off the top 5 with the fourth place. And BSR Wings in fifth. What was that top 5? Or who are you calling? Did you think you had a top 5 at Kansas Pockets?
No, I just said let's go to the top 5 and see who we got.
I see.
I could. I
Well,
tell you what, SS Joba, but it's Kansas. That guy's good at Kansas. He's great at Kansas.
yes, he is.
We called it last week.
Yeah,
So
you
we're
did
not
say
really
one
seeing any
driver to look out
spoilers or
for would be
surprise.
SS Joba. Look at who led the most laps there. BSR Texan, 65 laps led. SS did pull off 8 laps. Looks like SR5 with the next most, even though SR5 ended up finishing 6 laps down. He did lead 13 laps in that race. Several other drivers leading laps, getting their bonus points for this series. And let's go over and take a look at the points so far in the truck series.
What's a lot of laps to lead? How'd you end up back there with me?
Late race. I think I started on the outside somewhere late in the race, and I just, I wasn't able to. Now I remember. Yeah, I kept having to. I was trying to make a pass, and every time I would get up on somebody, I would seem to catch them mid corner, and every time I had to check up, it made my car loose, so I would kind of get pushed out of the way, and another car would get by me, and so instead of advancing my position, I was going backwards. I think I started at around 4th place, something like that, and just went backwards from there all the way to the end of that.
I tell you, how intense was that race? I mean, that thing was crazy intense.
Yeah,
It was
green
some
flag pit
great
stops.
racing.
Green flag pit stops, really close racing. It was a great race. Kansas, a great track. You can actually run and hold an outside line, hold a driver down there, and race side by side. And there was quite a bit of side by side racing this past Wednesday night.
And have you noticed? Is it just me? But the racing this season has been. I mean, maybe as long as we've been doing it, we've hit on the perfect recipe for fantastic racing. I mean, seriously. I mean, you tell me.
Well, I think it's the group of drivers that we have. Some tracks are tougher than others. But, the group of drivers that we've got here, most of us have been racing together for many years, know each other's habits, know how we're going to race, and you know how to race each driver that you're racing against, and yeah, I mean, just a great group of guys, great group of drivers, and tracks like Kansas, I mean, they make the racing awesome. Charlotte, I think, is going to be, as we're coming up on Charlotte All-Star Week this week, we will have an all-star race in the trucks tomorrow night at
All
Charlotte.
right.
Yeah,
Yes.
and that's going to be another great race. Charlotte is tough. There are some loose cars. There's going to be some loose cars, maybe a few self spins here and there, but in the truck physics, I think it's not quite as bad as the Cup. So I think we're going to have a great race tomorrow night. I expect to see a pretty good turnout as well because we've got a lot of bonus points. We've got those extra bonus points on the line at Charlotte.
Absolutely. And I tell you, as long as we've been doing this, we go to some of these tracks and you get in there and you go to work and you get it done. But I tell you what, man, this week, both of those races, it's been it's been a while where you get into one of them intense battles to where your hands are just sweating and you're just, you know what I mean? And this week was that. And we head to Charlotte. Charlotte's another one of those mile and a half tracks that is, it's unique because it's just a little, each one of those tracks has their own little intricacies and stuff like that. Charlotte, the one thing to point out is the bump on the back stretch. Bump on the back stretch. That thing, and it's those corners and the speeds you carry there is just it's going to be exciting. And this is all-star bonus time to shut up and put some money in your pocket to take into the chase with you. So it's gonna be exciting.
We're looking at these
I'm
points.
back.
Ah, you're back. All right. Awesome. Looking at the points here in the Cup Series pockets, it looks like with that victory, SS moved up 2 spots, knocked you off of the lead. So you have now
Yes.
moved down to second place, only down by 1 point in the Truck Series. BSR Mayhem in third place, down by 7. Look at Vince Conway. Vince Conway moved up a position to take over 4th place, down by 11. And Monty Keller sitting in 5th, down by 15. Still pretty close in the points right up there. I see myself sitting way back in 9th place. A few races left to go, but I'm pretty, 35. I'm 20 points off of 5th place. I don't see myself getting back into that top 5 before the end of this segment and we head into the chase.
Well, that does set up a very interesting scenario here because this is the all-star race. I'm down by 1 point, and there's bonus points on the line. So a driver could secure or stay in the top spot, get some bonus points, move up in the standings for the bonus points. It can go either way. Now, this is Truck Series. It doesn't have a segment because it only has 23 races. It doesn't have segments. It goes all the way through all the races since there's 23 total.
One segment. Yeah, one
Yes.
segment. And we do have segment bonus points at the end of that one segment. But there's no second segment with this Truck Series. And these all-star races won't count in the regular standings, only in the bonus points. And,
Yes.
speaking of these bonus points, let's go over and take a look at how they stand in the Truck Series now. SS with the victory does move himself. Where is that? Why is SS not in there? I know I updated this. Let me turn this back on, see if it works. Huh. For some reason it's not showing him in there. I did definitely update this. You should be seeing SS over here in the winner race column. Let me see if I can fix
You do.
that.
He's right underneath you.
In the winner race, SS Joba?
Yeah, in Wednesday truck season in the statistics, right?
No, I've moved it over to the bonus points here. Let me see if I can fix this for you guys. I'll just re-upload the fresh one right quick. It'll only take a second. Where's he at? He's not there. Somehow, I don't know. I know I updated this. Maybe I put him by accident over onto the... maybe I put him on the NXS on the Xfinity instead of on the truck by mistake. I'm pretty sure that I remember updating this and seeing that SS had moved up to tie, and we had several drivers tied for total bonus points at 3. So I'm not sure what happened here. It must have saved as a different file somehow than the one I've got loaded here on the spotter stand. I'll get that fixed for you guys next week. SS name will be in there in that winner race column. Another new driver. So far, I'm the only repeat driver in this Truck Series. Everybody else just pulling off one race. And SS, instead of that 2 that you see over there in the total bonus points column, does have 3 now. So we got a total of 5 drivers tied for the bonus points lead right now. At this rate, we're going to have about 10 drivers all tied going into the chase. Of course, we still have the All-Star race, and as you see in that All-Star box, the winner is going to get 3 bonus points, second place 2, and the other 3 of the top 5 all get 1 bonus point. We got the fall Texas race and the segment bonus points to hand out, but 5 drivers tied right now as they stand. If we were to start the chase tomorrow, 5 drivers would be tied for the lead. So it's going to be real close when we start this chase. Bonus points are going to matter. They're going to matter when it comes down to the end of this. But I would bet you we have several drivers that are going to be tied either for the lead or right up there, second, third place, only a few points behind going into race number 1 of the chase.
Yeah, and I'll tell you another thing too. The All-Star Week marks the spot on the calendar where we transition from the spring to the summer to the grind. We fixing to do the grind now. We fixing to have to grind it out till we get to the last 10. That'll be the fall segment, the last 10, the chase. So there's a lot of racing. There's a lot of tracks that are headed to that are going to be exciting, and we get past the All-Star segment here. That's going to set us up for the last bonus event of the year at Daytona in July. So there's 2, that's not that far away. So this is all going to change and flip around, and people are going to lose, and people are going to gain some points. People are going to lose some points. There's going to be new drivers getting into the Victory Lane Club. So this is a pivotal point in the season that we always look forward to. We head to Charlotte, we all star it up, then we run our regular scheduled races at Charlotte, and then on through the summer tour. So this is going to be exciting. We'll see how this all shakes out right here every Tuesday night.
Well, I got to figure out why that's not updating. I just went in again and I saved it as it should be the same file, and for some reason it's just not updating over here. I hope the cut points that I update over here as well. I'm gonna have to start checking that when I'm loading this spotter stand up, make sure that's all good to go. Well, speaking of Cup Series, let's move on to the Cup Series. Thursday night also ran at Charlotte this week, and another great race in the Cup Series. More green flag pit stops on Thursday night. A lot of good, close, hard racing. And one driver stood out and had I think he may have led the most laps. I'm not sure, but I know he dominated this race, was up at the front pretty much the whole night long. And that was the driver of the number 22 Indian Motorcycle Machine, Rick Craddock, sponsoring the Thursday night series with that helmet trophy and championship ring that he gives out at the end of every season. Great job, Rick Craddock, man. Great run at Kansas and great victory.
Top 5?
Yeah, let's take a look at the race results here.
Yes, good win, Rick Craddock. In second is Monty Keller, and third is RJ Rusty, fourth is Texan, and rounding out the top 5 is Pockets. And yes, Texan, Rick Craddock did lead the most laps.
Yes, he did. 44 of them. Dominated that race, and it looks like BSR Mayhem led the next most, 25. A few other drivers with great cars. Look at our own BSR Hot Rod, not able to make it tonight, but he led 18 laps in that Cup race at Kansas, and Momo getting in there also, leading 16 laps at Kansas, and a handful of other drivers looks like pulling off lady laps. Got just one, or maybe some of those like Brain Fade. That could have been during green flag pit stop. Some of these drivers able to stay out a little bit longer on fuel than the rest of the field. I know it wasn't so bad in the trucks, but I know the Cup Series, making an entire fuel run without having your right front tire about to blow was tough. It was a tire eater. It was hard to make
I
a fuel
couldn't
run.
do it. Yeah, I couldn't do it either. I tell you, man, that race again. That was some of the most intense racing that we've had. It just seems like it gets a little bit more intense every week. And Kansas is a great track. Everybody likes that track. Maybe that's what it was, that everybody's up on the wheel. But I mean, those in both races, we had a late race restart, man, and everybody was on top of each other, and you could not make a move, or you were going to crash. You couldn't advance your position. It was just everybody was racing really hard and really good. I mean, that was how many cautions did we have?
Only a couple, I believe.
Yeah.
There were actually only a couple of cautions. I know we had one green flag pit stop, possibly two green flag pit stops, and a couple of other long runs as well. There weren't many cautions in that race. Just about everybody finished on the lead lap, back to 15th place, finished on the lead lap. SS 1 lap down. Barry at Jimmydale finished 8 laps down. And Nelly had some trouble again with his connection. Nelly having to work. I believe he is currently using Wi-Fi. Took his racing wheel and his rig along with him and having to race on Wi-Fi. And Nelly just having some bad luck with connection and blinking in and out. Nelly being the kind of guy that he is, he doesn't want to cause any issues for any other drivers on the track with his connection. So, he's been coming in, running a few laps, and then retiring so that he doesn't blink in and out, cause any kind of a warp issue for any other drivers. Otherwise, I'm sure Nelly would have been a factor at the end of this race as well.
Absolutely.
So let's take a look at the bonus points here for the Cup Series. See if these have updated properly. Oh no, look, we got to look at the point standings first. Excuse me, I'm getting ahead of myself here. Rick Craddock with 4 wins in this series, currently dominating the leaderboard. 16-point lead over BSR Terry Scott in second place. You got Monty Keller in third, down by 20. Brain Fade right on his heels in fourth, down by 21. And Pockets holding on to that top 5 spot, down by 29. Only one race to go, 1 points race to go in this series before we wrap up segment 1. We have, of course, the All-Star race coming up this week, and then the points race at Charlotte will be the following week. This will be the last race of segment 1, and some bonus points will be handed out at the end of that segment. Pockets, look at that, man. I'm 4 points behind you right there outside of the top 5, so you got to be watching out. I need to finish. I need to finish at least 4 or 5 spots ahead. What if we have a tie for 5th place? Who does that tie go to? Most wins?
Automatically.
Oh, okay. I see it.
That's written that's in the small print in the driver contract. I'll tell you, Brain is 8 points ahead, so that's a big hill to climb. So I'm right there in the danger zone of falling out of the top 5 and losing that bonus point. So that's what I've got to. Thanks for pointing that out.
Yeah, Brain Fade, Monty Keller. I think those guys would have to have a terrible race to lose 8 or 9 points. And yeah, 4 points. I mean, that's I'm gonna have to finish at least 4 spots ahead of you just to tie you for that 5th position. And if it came down to wins, I think you would actually have it, because I don't have a win. I don't believe I have a win in the Cup Series yet. And you did win.
Have one?
I don't believe so. Not in the Cup. I don't think I have won a single race yet in the Cup. And I know you do have a win in this Cup Series. Didn't you win? I think you won Daytona, the season opener.
I think I did win the Daytona 500, did I not?
So,
yep, I think I did.
If by chance I would happen to win this, you would probably have to finish 2nd or 3rd for us to tie. And then it would come down to a tie in wins. Maybe since your win came first, or since you've won, I don't know. And that might be, we might have some decision to make here over who's going to get that 5th place bonus point.
Yeah, well,
Yes.
we'll definitely have to get Larry in here.
Yes, Pockets won the first race of this series. You did not win any yet, Texan.
Yep, I haven't won any. And I tell you, Charlotte is not going to be an easy race to win. There are a lot of fast drivers, a lot can go wrong at Charlotte. Like you said, Pockets, it's a fast track, and in the Cup Series especially, Cars are going to be loose. I've got a pretty loose setup at Charlotte. It's real easy to get loose coming off the corner, especially with that bump that you were talking about. You hit that bump wrong, and your car is going to go straight around. So it's going to be interesting. I'm going to definitely try. I want that bonus point, man. I need it. So look at Rick Craddock dominating this with all these bonus points he's been getting for wins. Let's move over, take a look at the bonus points, because I believe Rick Craddock has actually moved up to finally somebody has tied Momo for 4 bonus points in this series. If they show up, and they do. Looky there. This one updated fine. I don't know what happened to the cup. Rick Craddock showing 4 wins over there in the winner race column. Once again, the only driver to repeat victories in a series. This Cup Series, Rick Craddock's the only one to win more than one race, and he's won 4 of them. So Rick dominating this season in the Cup Series. He wants that helmet and championship ring. I can't blame him. I've got 2 of them, 2 helmets, 2 rings, and they're awesome. To be able to put that ring on and wear it to work, it's actually pretty cool. It's a great looking championship ring. That helmet trophy is awesome. It's a unique trophy, different than anything else that you would normally get for a trophy. And Rick Craddock, he wants it this year. And if you look over there in the totals box, BSR Momo, you've dominated that totals in this Cup Series since we started Daytona, since we left Daytona. Been up there at 4 all by yourself, and now Rick Craddock has moved up there to join you at 4 total bonus points in this Cup Series. So we got 2 drivers now tied for the lead in bonus points as we head into the All-Star race this coming up week. And both of these drivers, Momo and Rick Craddock, they're both going to be contenders for a victory at Charlotte. So who's going to get those 3 bonus points? Who's going to get the 2 for second? And who's going to round out the top 5 for those other bonus points at the All-Star race? So we've got this totals bonus points is about to change in this Cup Series and the Xfinity Series. We didn't race Xfinity last week, but we do have an All-Star race coming up in the Xfinity Series this coming week. And segment 1 is about to wrap up in both of these series. So you see that segment 1 top 5 box up there in the right center column. The leader, the end of segment 1, which is likely going to be Rick Craddock. So we know he's going to bring home those 2 bonus points at the end of the segment. The other of the top 5 all going to bring home 1. So we got the All-Star race and the segment bonus points about to get added. Not to mention, once we finish up that segment, attendance points will be added as well. Most drivers are going to be getting their 13 points for showing up to their allotted amount of races. If you didn't make your 7-8 races, you'll get bonus points for every race you did show up to. So names are about to be added to that total bonus points box, and the positions are about to be shaken up over these next couple of weeks at Charlotte.
Hey, these 2 bonus point events that are coming up, like we referred to earlier, the one in Daytona and this week in Charlotte starting tomorrow night. That's 2 races right there that could possibly affect a championship run in ways either detrimental or positive. You're just going to have to show up and see what happens on that deal, because there's a lot of people out there looking for a win, looking for those bonus points, and there's some people out there carrying some bonus points with them that others do not want to see get those bonus points. So they're going to be racing extra hard against them. You kind of you're kind of drawing that bullseye on yourself of who you need to beat. People are starting to pay attention and look and saying, hey, this segment's almost over, and we got to get up on that wheel and see if we can't get some of these points. So these races this week are going to be probably a little more intense than they already have been.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Charlotte Charlotte is to me that's one of my favorite tracks. I love racing at Charlotte, but I may not be saying how much I love Charlotte next week on the spotter stand. We'll just have to see how it goes. It's gonna be a nail biter, that's for sure. It's gonna be one of those races you were just talking about where you're gonna have the sweaty palms. You're gonna be gripping that wheel, and it's gonna be a hell of a run. Rugrat, you've been watching most of these races here lately. Televising them on the Bomb Squad Racing live page. You get to know some of these drivers, get to know how they race, where they end up finishing. What's it like to watch these races every week? Is it getting any better for you now that you're getting to know some of the drivers and move around? Is it boring watching these, or do you enjoy doing it?
No, I enjoy doing it. When it all depends on the night and who's racing. Like, I know a lot of the drivers now, so it's easy to, put the numbers and the names together now. When you aren't really racing, it's boring, but when you are racing, or like when there's a lot of cautions, it gets boring because you're stopping and going and doing all the caution laps. So it all depends on the night and the racers, I would say.
Yeah, I could see that from a broadcasting point of view when you're having to sit through a lot of cautions, especially some of the tracks where there's 4 or 5 laps of caution before it goes back to green racing. I could see how that would definitely get boring. Hopefully we'll produce some exciting racing for you here at Charlotte over these next couple of weeks, and you won't have to sit through a bunch of caution laps like that. I bet you're going to definitely see a lot of lead changes. You're going to see a lot of battling up at the front of these packs on both nights, all 3 nights really, at Charlotte.
And it's not always the cautions that are boring. Like, 'cause some of them are really interesting when it's like a bad car accident or something like that. But when it's like just a blown motor or something like that, it's really like, okay, we have to sit through this, and the car got off the track sometimes or doesn't. You know what I mean?
Yep. Yeah.
Yes.
I'm watching the chat out here, and I see Randy telling Momo that he is due for one. Momo is a past Charlotte winner. He has won Charlotte in the past. Pockets, you've won Charlotte in the past as well. So yeah, all the drivers that are up there at the top. Rick Craddock has won Charlotte. Momo's won Charlotte. Pockets, you've won Charlotte. I believe I've won Charlotte in the past. So you got Momo and Rick Craddock vying for that top spot in the bonus points. Yourself and me are vying for that 5th position in the segment. All of us have won Charlotte in the past, so it's gonna be a nail biting week of racing, both weeks, All Star and the final segment race.
And you never know who's gonna win, because not the same person wins all the time. So it all depends on if they have a good setup or something like that. That's another thing that I like about the racing with you guys. You never know who's gonna win. So it could be someone that was in the back all night and there was a bad accident, and then they end up winning just because they have a good car, they don't get in the accident, and they run good the rest of the night.
That's right, and strategy sometimes comes into play in this. If we have a late race caution with anywhere from just a few laps to 10 or so laps to go, strategy can definitely play a role. Drivers can elect not to pit. They can elect to just take 2 tires. They can try to go for all 4 tires. So, tape. Do you tape up? Do you not tape up? So, at the end of these races, with a late race caution, strategy definitely plays a role. Depending on how many laps you have to go, sometimes if you got 10, 12 laps, and you got guys that choose not to pit, and other guys that choose to only take 2 tires, somebody could take 4 tires, restart in 8th, 9th place, and end up winning the race because they had enough laps. It went green all the way to the end, and they took the 4 tires. Or there could be another caution, and the guy who stayed out didn't take any tires could take the win. So yeah, you never know. We've had a lot of different winners this year, not very many repeat winners. other than Rick Craddock in this Cup Series, I think 2 wins in one series is the most anybody has won. For the rest of these races, we've had a new winner just about every single week. So you never know who's going to bring home that victory. And personally, I'm looking forward to starting the All-Star Week tomorrow night. It's going to be a lot of fun.
I'll tell you this, I'm going to be picking up a couple of bottles of Fireball on my way down there, and you'll probably see me hanging out down there in the 54 garage because
There you go.
uh,
That's what we need to do. That's what we
he's
need to do.
he's got a handle on that place. He'll be tough to beat. He'll be up on that wheel because, like I said, he's looking for one. He's looking for some of them points.
I tell you, he can handle that Fireball, though. I mean, as we're about to move on here to Saturday night, Momo, my teammate this season on the original team, he had been drinking that Fireball most of the day. From what I heard, in the early part of the afternoon, he was in TeamSpeak and he was already slow mo, and he showed up on Saturday night for the Team Series race, and he did a great job, man. We had a great race. We had a little trouble at the end of that, but he held his stuff, and so you're gonna have to definitely you're gonna have to get him fireballed up right before the race, I think, because otherwise, he's smart enough to sober up before we get on the track. At least mostly sober up anyway.
Mostly, yes. He manages to get it done anyway.
Well, speaking of Saturday night, let's move on and take a look at the Saturday night Team Series Battle of the Six Flavors. We did start season 38 this past week. There's a look at your teams for season 38. All the teams lined up with each driver on their flavor, and teams were shaken up a little bit, but there were some guys that ended up staying pretty much on the same team. Pockets, you and DJ, y'all were on Beer Bacon last season, and both of you randomly chosen for Beer Bacon again this season, along with the other teammate Scar. Beer Bacon, a strong team this season, and SS Joba, he's got Eli 114 with him, and BSR Steven. Steven, a great super speedway driver. That's another strong team. My team is no slouch. Myself, Momo, he's Momo, one of last season's champions, and we got Steve Looney with us. Steve Looney, another great driver, another strong team. We've got some very strong teams out there for season 38. It's going to be a great season. We got started this last week at Daytona, and it was, you could have probably guessed it, BSR SS Joba bringing home another victory on the super speedways in its Saturday night Team Series. This season, driving for Ghost, that number 56 brings home another victory for his team and brings his team off to a lead in season 38.
Man, he's back. He's back.
Yeah, SS with 2 victories this week. He pulled off the win at Kansas in the Truck Series, and then Saturday night he finished up the week with the win in the Team Series. And I don't believe he had any teammates up there to help him, and there were several cars. I think all 3 of Beer Bacon's cars were up there in that lead draft at the end of this race. One of them was a lap down, but all 3 were there. I think all 3 of the original cars, myself, Momo, and Steve Looney, were there on the lead draft. There were a couple of hot cars on the lead draft, and SS was up there all by himself with no teammates, somehow managed to pull off the victory with no teammates to help him. So, I mean, if you can do it with no teammates, you're up there all by yourself battling against these other teams who have multiple cars. What else can you say? I mean, you can't. You just got to give the guy his props there. You can't hold him back. He's all by himself, and he's pulling out the victory against teams with multiple cars. So he knows how to do it. He knows how to get it done. That's for sure.
Yep, he sure does. And these teams, we've put them in the Yahtzee Cup and shook them up and rolled them out and repositioned everybody. And don't forget 4 truck races this season also. And so 4 truck races. Race 1's in the books. 9 more to go. You know how this deal works. it ain't over until it's over.
Oh no.
And it's it'll be interesting to watch how these teams work together and work together to a common goal to try to beat these other flavors. So it's going to be another great season.
I know Teriyaki had a bad start to this team series. It ended up being Hot Rod. He ended up going 2 laps down because he ended up rolling through his first pit, like rolling through his pit stall, and he forgot to take his tires off not once but twice. So he had a, and then he got about black flag towards the end of the race, so that really hurt his team there.
Oh yeah, pit stops are critical in this team series because these races go green for the most part. This race went green all the way till the end. We had one caution in this race. It was a late race caution with just a few laps to go. I know myself and Momo, we got caught up in that, and when they go green like this, these pit stops are critical. It's easy to make a mistake, to forget, especially to turn your tires, to get only 2 or to get none if that's what you want to get. And I usually try to, right after I come out of the pits, I will normally within the first few laps go ahead and adjust my tires and make my pit stop adjustments right then. That way I don't forget and have to be scrambling to do it as I'm trying to enter the pits, because that can, pit stops. You remember this, Pockets. You were there for those first few where we had large groups of cars going in all at once, and they were hairy. I can't believe that these guys pulled it off the way that they did. That first pit stop especially. I mean, there was a ton of cars all going in there at the same time, and somehow everybody managed to avoid each other. We all spread out on that wide concrete going down into pit road and came right back together. We're able to get it in there nice and clean. The pit stops were hairy this last week.
There were cars banging off each other, smashing it. One car hit the wall, about to come up into it. Was insanity. But everybody made it through, and that thing stayed green for ever. I mean, what do we have? One caution?
Yeah, one caution at the end of the race. Let's go over and take a look at how the teams all finished. It was the Ghost team with the top spot, bringing home 47 points for their team. Beer Bacon did take the next finishing position, 43 points for Beer Bacon, and the Hot team brought home the next finishing position and also led the most laps. Got that bonus point. I believe it was Brain Fade. Brain Fade finished first for that Hot team, and he led the most laps in that race. So not only did they get a point for leading a lap, they got a point for leading the most laps. They maximized what they could for their team without getting the victory. So they tie the Beer Bacon team, bringing home 43 points. Original got the next finishing position with 40 points. The Reaper team bringing it home 38 points, and Teriyaki, as you said, Tricia, they had a little bad luck in this race, and they brought home 31 points for their team. So they're going to be starting, looks like 16 points back after the first race. But 9 races left to go, a lot of racing. Let's see, we'll go over the point standings. They should be pretty much the same order here. Ghost team with the lead, and the Hot team tied for second place with Beer Bacon, down by 4 points. Original sits in fourth, down by 7. Carolina Reaper in fifth, down by 9. And Teriyaki rounding out the field, down by 16 points. It seemed like a big deficit right off the bat, but as you can see, if you can lose 16 points in one race, you can gain 16 points in one race as well. So, 9 races left to go in this season 38 team series.
Gonna be exciting.
Now, Saturday night. Go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry, Jackson. I know there at the first, I was shooting myself in the foot. Pockets got after me for it too, and I appreciate your. No, I don't know
I
what
just
it was.
didn't want to run over you because I was about to get run over too. So,
Well, that thing would just suck up so quick. I mean, I've never had one to suck up to somebody so quick. and so I'm kind of trying to lift a little bit, and I was like, my goodness, and then that messed my pits all up because I was pitting a lap or two ahead of everybody else. So next thing I know, I'm 2 laps down. In other words, I'm pretty much in my normal position. But nah, it'll get better. It was just an off race. I know Larry is going to be up front no matter what. I don't see Teriyaki staying in the basement too awful long.
No,
those
no, I
guys
don't
will
think
keep
so.
fighting.
No,
They'll keep
yeah, I don't
fighting.
either. It just so happened that one of your teammates ended up not making that first race, and then you got 2 laps down, and then with Larry's bad pit stops there, he ended up going a lap or 2 down. So that's what hurt you.
Yeah, pitting all by yourself, it's almost impossible. But I have seen Larry do it several times. Pit by himself and stay on the lead draft. Although I believe he has had still at least one car to draft with on that lap before he went into the pits. And that's what's critical is having somebody to draft with on the track before and after your pit stop. And when you have to pit early like you did, Randy, when you pit early by yourself, even though you're in the draft before you go into the pits, when you come out all by yourself with no one to draft with, you're 8 miles an hour slower than cars that are drafting on the track. So when you come out of that pit all by yourself with nobody to draft with, you're gonna fall off that lead draft pretty much every time. So having a drafting partner both in and out of the pit's critical in these super speedways to be able to hang with the rest of the pack.
Well, yeah, I think all the checking up that I was doing, I don't know why. Usually I can get around there pretty good to where I'm pitting with the rest of you guys. But it seemed like I say, I was sucking up so fast these cars. It was just mind blowing. Next thing you know, I got pockets. Randy, it's like, damn, I'm gonna get yelled at again.
I remember that because you were worried about running over somebody. Checking up maybe a little bit more than you had to, and you were leaving a pretty good sized gap back there. But Pockets had some trouble himself, as I see Momo typing in out there in the chat. You recall one of I believe it was that second pit stop, Pockets, where you got in there a little hot and trying to blow it up. I saw your car left and right, and you were sideways right at the entrance of pit road. Man, that was crazy because I was coming in right behind Brain Fade, and I had just gone over to the inside of Brain Fade, and there you were sitting. Luckily, the back of your car was pretty much all the way up against the wall, and the whole rest of pit lane entrance was open, and I was able to squeeze right in between Brain Fade and your sideways car to get into the pits without any trouble. But yeah, I mean, pit stops were crazy this week.
I actually think that was the third one I got that I lost it there. Just you're trying to get every split second you can in and out of those pits, and I came in a little hot. Car got away from me. I managed to save it, and I would have been okay. I could have got it, turned back in the right direction pretty quickly there, but it blew 3 of my tires, and so I ended up having to take 4 tires. And I tell you, you make a mistake like that with this group on Saturday night, you're going to be out there driving a bunch of laps by yourself because you make one of those mistakes and you don't usually have a chance to get caught back up by the caution. It's you can't count on the caution anymore. It's actually changed the strategy of the way we race because you can have a little bit of trouble and say, well, it'll be all right. There'll be a caution here in a little bit. These guys will mess up. They don't do that anymore. It runs, you get down to 20 to go, the intensity picks up twofold. Everybody's making moves. They're fighting and jockeying for position. You get under 10 to go, and that's when we're usually having the cautions. But that's when you've You know what I mean? That's when you're supposed to have them. That's when everybody is up on that wheel. You can't rely on that. Well, it was early in the race and I didn't want to take a chance. You have to take a chance, or you're not going to win. There's a lot of
Yep.
chances you got to take, and you got to take them. And 20 to go, 10 to go. You better start thinking about it, because that's what you're going to have to do.
Well, you did do what it takes at the end of this race. One of the things that this team series is all about, it's about the team. And even though you're a lap down at the end of that race, you were able to get back with that lead draft. You had two of your teammates that were on the lead draft, on the lead lap. And being a lap down car, you can get in their line, work with your teammates, even though you're a lap down, and help them draft up to a better position at the end of the race. And that's exactly what you did. And, that's part of this team series racing. Now, you can't get discouraged if you have trouble and you end up a lap down, because even though your points may not count, you can still help your team get a better finish and do a little bit better in the point standings. And that's exactly what you did this last Saturday night.
Yeah, and I've got a few guys from over at the American Truck Syndicate page that have been coming in and watching, and I've got my wheel set up to where I can talk to the stream without anybody in the team speak hearing me. And I was explaining to them that that's the one thing that's different about Saturday night racing is that even if you get into some trouble, you still have the opportunity to help your team. You can be 20 laps down and still put yourself in a position to try to work with your teammate, because we're only counting the top finishing car from each team. So that's a whole new ball of wax. That you're not in that situation where you just kind of throw your hands up and when you're 2 laps down and just struggle to finish the race. No, you still got work to do on that Saturday night series, and it's all about your teammates. It's all about helping where you can, making decisions, communicating, deciding together what's the best strategy, and it really brings an entirely different outlook to what we do.
Well, yeah, even if you get damaged and you can't keep up with the draft, sometimes it's a good idea to stay in there, because you never know if your other teammates are going to get involved in an incident and get taken out completely. Their damage may be so bad that their crew won't fix their car and they're completely out of the race. And then even though you have the damaged car, you're still going to be the top finisher for your team. And if you retire early, that's going to put your team back a few more positions. Whereas if you hang in there with that damaged car, if your teammates get taken out, you may finish a few laps down, but it's going to be a better position for your team than it would have been had you left the race early.
That's another thing I like about broadcasting this team race, this team series, is a nice way, because if you don't help your team members and you don't stick together, you are just going to end up falling apart here come the end of the races.
Exactly.
Yeah, and a lot of these teams you will see sometimes a strategy is not necessarily to stay together the entire race. You may, you want to get every one of your teammates to lead a lap if possible. That way, whichever one of you brings home that finishing position for your team, you've at least got the bonus point for leading a lap. But sometimes, if the racing looks like it's hairy, if there's a lot of 3 wide, sometimes it's a good idea to keep yourself separated a little bit. That way, if there is an incident, all of your cars don't get taken out in the same incident. You will see some teams that will do that on purpose here and there. They'll keep themselves separated a little bit during the first bit of the race when you've got the big pack all racing together, and then they'll try to come together at the end. Because it's all about those pit stops in these super speedway races. You got to get through those pit stops, and you got to be on that lead draft at the end to be able to get the victory. Well,
Absolutely.
Let's take a look at the Super Truck or Stadium Super Truck series here. We did not run this on Saturday night like we normally do, since Friday night the Xfinity Series was off, we moved the Stadium Truck Series over to Friday night, so we didn't have to be
I
up
thought-
quite so late.
I
Go ahead.
thought that just counted as a fun race.
It was just a fun race. I figured we'd go ahead and talk about it a little bit though here on the spotter stand this week, especially with the fun that we did have with that first track that we ran. We were going to run, what was it, that GNC? It was a pavement track. It was actually
Chula Vista,
yeah, it was like well, Chula. I think that's
San-
where we ended up
San
running.
Diego. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
The
That's
one
right.
that
You're
the
right.
one that was put up originally that we ran the practice in and tried to start the race, but there's some kind of glitch with the track. We started the race, and the pace car spawned about 40 feet up in the air, and then dropped down onto the track. And once that happened, everybody just fell out, lost their connection. So we thought maybe it's something to do with the full pace lap. So we tried starting it without a full pace lap. Same exact thing. Pace car spawned about 40 feet in the air, dropped down to the track, and everybody fell out. So we had to change it over to a different track at the last minute. We ran at Chula. Great track, big wide racetrack. And we had a lot of fun. And since it was a last minute change, we didn't count points. We just had a fun run. And go ahead, Trish. What were you about to say?
I was actually the only one that did not fall out of that race.
You didn't fall out when that pace car dropped?
No, me and one other car were the only cars that stayed on the track.
Yeah, because I know everybody. Did you stay on the track both times, even when we swapped it over to not full pace lap?
Yes,
Wow.
but Hot Rod fell out.
Yeah, I know I fell out, and pretty much everybody else did as well. Yeah, and that was a fun track. I was looking forward to racing that because it was all pavement, and there were still jumps in there. There were walls, concrete walls on both sides of the track. So you were confined into that track with the concrete walls and a pavement track, more like a regular road course with jumps in it. And man, I hope Steve Looney can maybe figure out what's going on with that and fix that track up because that's going to be a lot of fun.
He's working on it. I guarantee you, Steve Looney will take care of it. He's working on it.
Yeah,
We'll have it
Pockets.
ready.
How is that Snickers wall?
It's terrible. Terrible. We're getting to where I don't even like Snickers anymore.
And speaking of Steve Looney, it was Steve Looney who brought home the victory in the fun run at Chula that we had. And I believe that track is actually coming up on the schedule for this next week's race. I believe it is
I
going to
can't wait.
be at Chula. That, like I said, that's a big wide track. There's a lot of room. Most of that track is very wide, a lot of room for side-by-side racing. Pockets actually jumped over my truck at one point in that race. Him and I were battling side by side for most of the lap, and I was just ahead of Pockets. I lifted just a little bit. How you hit those jumps. If you hit it full speed, your truck usually is going to go hood up, and you're going to land on your back wheels and bobble around a little bit when you land, so it kind of slows you down when you land. But I lifted just a hair so that I could get a nice even jump and try to land on all four wheels. And Pockets, man, he wasn't lifting. He went into that thing full blast right behind me. I could hear his truck. I couldn't see it, but I could hear it, and I knew he was right on top of me. I thought for sure he was going to land right on top of my truck, and I saw Pockets fly right over the top of me and just landed right at the right front corner of my hood. And that's a great track. There's a lot of stuff like that goes on. You got side-by-side jumping, trucks jumping over other trucks, and I can't wait for this next week. It's going to be a blast.
Yeah, that track is outstanding, man. I mean, it really is.
You weren't the first truck he jumped over that night.
I jumped over probably several. I like that track, man. That track's made me my most fun to date. So, yeah,
Well-
it's good stuff.
Well, when we were running the practice in the track we were supposed to run. Don't you remember jumping over my truck?
Yes, absolutely.
What would that have been? The only jump I think on that track that you could possibly get a jump over, that would have had to have been that one on the straightaway by the checkered flag.
Yes, I was coming out of pit road and ended up coming out too far and landed right in front of that jump, and he was jumping that jump, and actually I thought he was going to land on me, and he went right over me. It was kind of pretty cool, actually.
Well, let's go ahead and take a look at the points in this series. Even though it was a fun run, we didn't count any points. We'll give you guys an update on how they stand at the moment. It is VSR Brain Fade holding down that top spot in the Stadium Super Truck Series. Monty Keller in second place, only down by 5. Steve Looney in third, down by 7. VSR Pockets in fourth, down by 10. And I am holding out the fifth spot, down by 22. Look at Rugrat right behind me, down by 30 points, only 8 points off of fifth place. So, you know, I think we've got, how long has this season run? We've got quite a few tracks. It's going to run all the way pretty much to the end of the racing season, isn't it?
I believe
We
so.
The schedule says we have 2 races left.
Yeah, but I think they are adding races to the schedule kind of as we go.
Yes.
Steve Looney and Hot Rod are coordinating on that, on what the schedule is going to be like, what tracks are going to be next. So I think they're adding them as we go. And I know there are several tracks that we haven't run, and I wouldn't be surprised if we repeat a few tracks in there. So not sure how many races, but I'm sure there's quite a few races left to go in this series. And Brain Fade, Monty Keller, Steve Looney battling it out up there. Pockets even only down by 10 points. And when you move back to fifth, that's a pretty big deficit. 22 points from first to fifth, and even 12 points from fourth to fifth. Pretty good little gap right now, but the top 5 still pretty close.
Fun series, man. We'll race it and see what happens with those points. It's we're going to some of these tracks that people aren't really maybe not familiar with, or we haven't run yet. We haven't even seen yet. We haven't even turned a lap yet. So as soon as those things, get released and they're out there. I mean, I think, I haven't downloaded all of them and done any practicing. So that might be a benefit for some people to get a little head start. I guarantee it. I think there are some people who've already got the tracks and are doing a little practice, because that 028 is bad fast wherever we're at. So that tells me he's not just sitting around waiting. You know what I mean? He's probably familiarizing himself with those tracks.
I can't wait till we race this track that we were just at, because, man, boy, is that fast and
Man.
fun. And
Yes, it
I'm
is.
good.
That track is great.
Texan, just look out. I'm coming for you.
Oh,
Yeah, I've been struggling with this series. It's normally I'm great on the road courses, but for some reason adding those jumps in there, and some of these tracks like that Chula, they have the sections where the hills are not even. You've got them on the left and the right. If you don't hit it right in the center, you're not getting through there worth a crap. And I'm struggling to keep up here at this series, but like Pockets was saying, that 028, he's got it down every week. I mean, he is hitting the marks. He is fast at every one of these tracks, and Brain Fade as well. Brain Fade doing a great job in this series. Steve Looney, of course, I'm sure he's doing the work on the tracks. I'm sure he's getting a few laps in here and there, and he was also really fast at that Chula track. So Monty Keller fast, Brain Fade fast, Steve Looney fast at Chula, and as we know, Pockets is willing to jump over whoever it takes to get the win. So, yeah, it's going to be fun this coming up week.
you know me. I try to keep it exciting for the fans.
Pockets, if I had a choice to jump over someone, I probably would too. So
I actually thought I was going to jump right on top of him, but luckily he checked up enough that I cleared him. So, and he moved to the left a little bit, which helped.
Yeah, I think that was more of a, my truck just bobbled that way when I landed, and it just happened to just enough move out of your way. If it hadn't have done that, your back wheels, I think, would have landed right on my hood, right on my
Yeah.
hood. You know, Trisha, you've been doing this long enough now. I think you give a little too much headway and just kind of let people pass and let people go. I think it's about time you just get in there and race for everything that you can and stop letting people by and making so much room. You need to just turn it on and get what you can get and race like the rest of us do instead of making so much room. And you've been doing it long enough. I think that you can do that, and you do that, and yeah, you'll be taking that fifth spot away from me in no time.
You're not the only one yelling at me saying that, so.
Larry doing the same thing, huh?
Yep.
Well, he should be, yeah, because you're definitely ready to do that. You've even in that dirt series Wednesday night, when we race that dirt, I think you should do the same thing. Get in there and race with the rest of us because worrying about causing a caution or running into somebody in these series, it's going to happen. All of us, every one of us have run into somebody, flipped somebody over, and that, nothing you can do. You can't feel bad when that happens because it's going to happen. And yeah, I think you should just get in there and race as hard as you can. Give it everything you got and try to get those spots because, like I said, I think you can do it, and you'll be taking not only that fifth spot away from me, but maybe that fourth spot away from Pockets.
Yep.
Let me tell
And
you
Hot
this
Rod
much.
just says, if you cause a caution, just, man up, say you did it, and go to the back and say sorry and move on. That's all you can do.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. And like I said, we've all done it, and multiple times in the same race, especially in that dirt series. When the racing's that close and everybody's going through the corner so different, it's really easy to get just a little bit loose, which slows you down a lot, and somebody running to the back of you, it happens. So that's I kind of kid around with a friend of mine that I work with, that he watches my stream sometimes, and it's we kid around about the dirt series. It's front to back to front to back to front to back, and that's just kind of how it goes. It's wherever you end up at the end. You could not cause any cautions and still end up getting tangled up in others, and you go from the front to the back of that pack. You work your way back up through there, and you're back at the back again, back up at the front. I mean, that's how it is. It's a lot of fun.
Another thing within these next couple races, I'm sure you'll see a difference too, because when I first started, I was racing on the Momo on the laptop. Then I went from the laptop, now I'm on a regular computer, which is 10 times better. But here, the wheel I was using was actually my PAPS, and it is on calibrating itself 180 out during the race. So that's another thing that was really affecting me, because now I'm driving with the wheel halfway turn. So that was giving me a lot of issues too. So now I have a good wheel that's not doing that. So hopefully we'll see a big difference here too.
Oh yeah, you having that good equipment, just like the NASCAR guys. Equipment makes a difference. You have the right equipment, it's going to make a difference in your race. And I know what it's like to race on a laptop because I've done it in the past. I've got a laptop that runs the game, and I've used it as a backup when my PC was down, and I've had to race for a few weeks on a laptop, and using the smaller screen, it's a little bit of a disadvantage. It's good to have it to be able to get out there and race when the PC's down, but it's a huge difference to be on a regular computer and have a decent sized monitor to be able to get out there and race with.
Oh yeah, when on the laptop in the dirt, you can't even see when a car's coming up behind you, and that's what really hurt me, was because if yous were coming, I couldn't see us at all.
That's what happens to me in the Super Truck series because I race from inside the truck, and that mod does not have a mirror on the inside of the truck. That's why I was worried when Pockets was jumping over me because I could hear him, but I couldn't see him. I have no mirror inside that truck, and I can't see. When somebody's behind me, you can hear them. And that kind of even gets to you even more because when you have a mirror and you can see that truck, you know exactly where they're at. It makes it a little bit easier, but when you got no mirror and you can hear them, but you can't see him. I mean, it gets in your head. It's like, I can hear that guy. I know he's there. Where is he? Where is he? You know, and especially with pockets, you know, it's like, where's he at? I know he's there. We're both up in the air. What's going to happen here? And boom, he comes flying over my hood, and then I see him. Yeah, it's crazy.
That's how it happens sometimes.
Well, I think we're going to wrap it up for the week. We appreciate all you guys tuning in again live to watch us here on the Spotter Stand. We had a great week of racing last week at Kansas, and it's going to be an awesome week of racing coming up here at Charlotte. Don't forget, you guys, this week is All-Star Week. Bonus points all 3 nights are going to be on the line Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. All 3 series running at Charlotte. And we'll see you guys on the track at Charlotte in the trucks tomorrow night.
See you, Thaw Star. Holla.
See ya.